The story of Andrew is not just a tale of horror. It is a profound exploration of the lengths a human soul will go when pushed by love and absolute desperation. It begins in the sun-drenched, crowded streets of Cairo, a city that never sleeps, filled with the constant hum of life and the scent of history. Andrew was a man of logic and concrete dreams. He spent his days working tirelessly, building a career in marketing, and preparing for the opportunity of a lifetime, a move to San Francisco. To the outside world, he was a success story, but inside, he carried the heavy weight of responsibility for his mother, who was his entire world. As he packed his suitcases in his quiet apartment, the atmosphere was thick with a bittersweet silence. He folded his clothes with precision, making silent promises to the walls of the home he was leaving behind. His mother sat on the edge of the bed, her face a map of pride and hidden sorrow. Andrew knelt before her, taking her hands in his, and promised that this move would be their salvation. He promised that the American dream would provide the resources to give her the best medical care and a life of luxury. He didn't know that every word of hope he uttered was being intercepted by a darkness that thrives on the promises of desperate men. The arrival in San Francisco was a cold awakening. The city was a sprawling labyrinth of steep hills and shifting mists. The fog didn't just drift through the streets. It felt like a living entity, cold and damp, swallowing the light of the street lamps and muffling the sounds of the world. Andrew stayed with his childhood friend, Mark, in a small apartment that felt cramped and filled with an inexplicable tension. Mark had changed. He was no longer the carefree boy Andrew remembered from Cairo. He was jumpy, his eyes constantly darting to the shadows, and he spoke in hushed tones about the unseen forces that governed the city's darker corners. Andrew, ever the rationalist, dismissed Mark's fears as mere superstition till the night he found the Black House. It was a Tuesday evening, and the fog was particularly thick, turning the Haighsbury district into a ghostly realm. Andrew had gone for a walk to clear his head, but the streets seemed to twist and turn in ways that felt intentional. Then he saw it, a Victorian house, painted in a black so deep it seemed to absorb all light around it. It stood like a hollow tooth in a row of vibrant, colorful homes. While other houses felt like homes, this place felt like a gateway. Standing by the gate was a woman of haunting beauty named Zandora. She didn't look like a villain. She looked like an enigma. Her smile was sharp, her eyes a piercing green that seemed to read Andrew's very soul. She invited him in, not with a threat, but with an appeal to his intellect and his hidden desires for power. Inside the Black House, the air was static and heavy with the scent of sulfur and old rotting parchment. The walls were a bruised, dark teal, decorated with sigils and symbols that made Andrew's eyes ache. In the center of the main hall stood a massive, terrifying statue of Baphometha, goat-headed deity. Its glass eyes seemed to follow Andrew, reflecting his confusion and his growing fear. Zandora walked him through the philosophy of the house, claiming they celebrated the true self and rejected the shackles of common morality. But then she leaned in, her voice dropping to a freezing whisper that paralyzed Andrew where he stood.
"Your mother is dying, Andrew,"
she said.
"The cancer is a black fire burning through her lungs, And the doctors in Cairo have already signed her death warrant.
Andrew's heart nearly stopped. He hadn't told anyone about his mother's illness, not even Mark. He rushed out of the house, his breath coming in ragged gasps, and called his aunt in Egypt. The news was devastating. The biopsy results had just come back, and it was stage 4. There was no hope, no treatment, only a matter of days. In that moment, the logical, rational world Andrew lived in collapsed. He returned to the Black House, not as a visitor, but as a supplicant. He was ready to pay any price to change the inevitable. Zandora was waiting for him, a cold satisfaction in her eyes. She explained that the Lightbringer did not grant favors for free. To save his mother, Andrew had to undergo a transformation of the will. She presented him with a small, ornate vial filled with a glowing, vivid blue, liquider substance. She called the Black Angel. She told him it was a key to opening the hidden eye and preparing him for the ritual. Desperate and broken, Andrew drank it. The effect was instantaneous. The world began to warp, the colors of the room bleeding into a dark, swirling kaleidoscope. Under low, rhythmic chanting began to echo in his mind. The journey to the ritual was a blurred nightmare. Andrew found himself in the back of a black SUV, driven by silent figures through the winding roads that led out of the city and into the ancient, towering redwood forests. The trees seemed to close in on the vehicle, their branches like twisted, skeletal fingers scratching at the sky. They arrived at a decayed wooden cabin, hidden in a valley where the sun never reached. Inside, the air was freezing, lit only by flickering black candles that cast dancing, monstrous shadows on the walls. The chanting grew louder, a deep guttural vibration that felt like it was coming from the very earth beneath them. During the Black Mass, Andrew was forced to stand before a stone altar. He felt a presence in the room, something ancient, hungry, and vast. He was told to sign a parchment in a language he didn't understand, using a quill that felt like a needle. As the ink, which looked suspiciously like blood, dried on the page, a sharp, searing pain erupted on his wrist. Then a final cup was offered, filled with a bitter, metallic liquid. As he drank the last drop, the world exploded into a void of total darkness. He woke up days later in a hospital bed in downtown San Francisco. The bright, fluorescent lights were a sharp contrast to the shadows he had lived in. Mark was there, his face etched with a mixture of relief and horror. He told Andrew that he had been missing for 3 days and was found unconscious in a vacant, trash-strewn lot in a dangerous part of town. Mark insisted that the black house Andrew described was a hallucination, a ruin that had been a burned-out shell since the 1970s. He said there was no Zandora, and the doctors had found traces of a powerful, unknown synthetic hallucinogen in Andrew's system. Andrew wanted to believe the logical explanation. He wanted to believe he had simply suffered a mental breakdown from the stress of his mother's illness. But then his phone buzzed with a video call from Cairo. It was his mother. She was standing in the garden, her face glowing with health, her laughter ringing through the speaker. She told him that 3 days ago she felt a sudden cold breeze pass through her, and the pain vanished. The doctors were in shock. The tumors had simply disappeared. A spontaneous remission that defied every law of science. As Andrew hung up, the joy in his heart was strangled by a cold realization. He walked to the hospital bathroom and washed his face with freezing water. He slowly pulled back the sleeve of his gown, revealing a fresh, angry red scar on his wrist, a perfect pentagram. He looked into the mirror, hoping to see the man he used to be. But for a fleeting second, his reflection showed eyes that were no longer human horizontal, amber pupils that belonged to a predator of the dark. The miracle was real, but the debt was eternal. Andrew had saved his mother, but the price was a shadow that would follow him for the rest of his life.